What I'm about to reveal will completely change how you think about Netflix, streaming services, and the future of entertainment in America. While these companies have convinced millions of people that they're providing value and convenience, they're actually executing the most sophisticated consumer manipulation scheme in history, systematically destroying Hollywood's creative ecosystem, while extracting unprecedented amounts of money from your wallet every single month. This isn't just about rising subscription costs or declining content quality. This is about a coordinated assault on American entertainment culture, designed to eliminate ownership, destroy competition, and create a system where you pay more money for less value while having no control over what you can watch or when you can watch it. By the time I'm finished explaining what's really happening, you'll understand why the streaming revolution isn't about giving consumers better options. It's about creating digital sharecroppers who pay monthly rent for access to content they'll never own, while the companies that control that content become more powerful and profitable than any entertainment entities in history. Let me start with Sarah Thompson, a 29-year-old teacher from Portland, Oregon. In 2019, Sarah decided to cut the cord and cancel her cable subscription, which was costing her $120 per month. She signed up for Netflix for $12.99 per month, thinking she was saving money while getting access to thousands of movies and TV shows. Sarah loved the convenience and the lower monthly cost. She binge-watched entire seasons of shows, discovered new content through Netflix's recommendation algorithm, and felt like she was getting incredible value for her money. For 2 years, Sarah was a satisfied Netflix customer who recommended the service to friends and family. But in 2023, Sarah did something that most streaming customers never do. She calculated exactly how much she was actually spending on streaming services and what she was getting for that money. The results shocked her. By 2023, Sarah was paying for Netflix $549, Hulu $14.99, Disney Plus $99, HBO Max $15.99, Amazon Prime Video $8.90, Apple TV Plus $6.99, and Paramount Plus $9.99. Her total monthly streaming costs had reached $82.43 per month, nearly $1,000 per year. But that wasn't the worst part. When Sarah tried to watch some of her favorite movies from childhood, she discovered they weren't available on any of the services she was paying for. When she wanted to rewatch a TV series she'd enjoyed the previous year, she found that Netflix had removed it from their platform. Content that she thought she had access to was constantly disappearing and reappearing across different services. Sarah realized that despite paying almost $1,000 per year for streaming services, she had less reliable access to the entertainment she wanted than when she was paying $120 per month for cable. She was paying more money for a worse experience, and she had no ownership or control over any of the content she was accessing. Sarah's story represents the experience of tens of millions of Americans who've been manipulated into believing that streaming services provide better value than traditional entertainment options. But the reality is that streaming has become more expensive, more restrictive, and more manipulative than the cable television system it supposedly replaced. The streaming industry has grown from essentially nothing in 2010 to over $200 billion in annual revenue by 2023. This represents one of the fastest wealth transfers in business history, as money that used to flow to movie theaters, television networks, and physical media retailers has been redirected to a handful of tech companies that now control the majority of American entertainment consumption. Netflix alone generates over $30 billion in annual revenue, while spending over $17 billion per year on content production. But here's what most people don't understand. Netflix isn't spending that money to create better entertainment for customers. They're spending it to destroy traditional Hollywood and eliminate competition from studios and networks that have been creating American entertainment for decades. Netflix's strategy is deceptively simple. Use venture capital funding and debt financing to spend more money on content than traditional studios can afford, thereby driving those studios out of business or forcing them to sell their content libraries to Netflix at below market prices. Once the traditional competition is eliminated, Netflix can reduce content spending and increase subscription prices without worrying about customers switching to alternatives. This strategy is called predatory pricing, and it's typically illegal when used to destroy competition in most industries. But streaming services have avoided antitrust scrutiny by convincing regulators that they're creating value for consumers through innovation and convenience, rather than destroying value through market manipulation. The evidence of this predatory strategy is everywhere if you know how to look for it. Netflix spent the first decade of its streaming business losing money every year, funded by investors who understood that short-term losses would lead to long-term market dominance. Traditional television networks and movie studios couldn't compete, with a company that was willing to lose billions of dollars to gain market share. But once Netflix achieved dominance, the company's behavior changed dramatically. Subscription prices that started at $7.99 per month have increased to over $20 per month for premium plans. Content that used to be included in basic subscriptions now requires additional payments. Features that were once free, like sharing accounts with family members, now incur extra charges. Meanwhile, the quality and quantity of content has decreased significantly. Netflix used to license high-quality movies and TV shows from major studios, giving subscribers access to decades of proven entertainment. But as Netflix gained power, they shifted their strategy toward producing original content that they could control completely. Netflix's original content strategy isn't about creating better entertainment, it's about creating cheaper entertainment that can't be accessed anywhere else. By producing their own shows and movies, Netflix eliminates licensing fees while creating content that competitors can't offer. But Netflix's production budgets are typically lower than traditional Hollywood standards, resulting in lower production values, less experienced talent, and shorter episode counts. The result is a content library that looks impressive in quantity, but delivers less value per hour than traditional television or cinema. Netflix subscribers are paying more money to watch lower quality content that disappears from the platform when Netflix decides it's no longer profitable to maintain. The manipulation goes much deeper than just pricing and content strategies. Netflix and other streaming services use sophisticated algorithms and psychological manipulation techniques to maximize the amount of time users spend on their platforms and the amount of money users are willing to pay for subscriptions. Net recommendation algorithm isn't designed to help you find content you'll enjoy. It's designed to keep you watching Netflix content for as long as possible. The algorithm prioritizes Netflix original programming over licensed content, even when the licensed content might better match your preferences. It also uses techniques like autoplay and binge-watching promotion to encourage addictive viewing, behaviors that increase subscription retention. Designed to keep you watching Netflix content for as long as possible. The algorithm prioritizes Netflix original programming over licensed content, even when the licensed content might better match your preferences. It also uses techniques like autoplay and binge-watching promotion to encourage addictive viewing, behaviors that increase subscription retention. The psychological manipulation extends to how content is marketed and presented. Netflix uses A/B testing to determine which thumbnails, descriptions, and promotional materials are most likely to make users click on content, regardless of whether that content actually matches what users are looking for. Users often start watching shows or movies based on misleading marketing, then feel compelled to continue watching due to sunk cost bias. Netflix also manipulates users' perception of value by constantly adding new content while quietly removing existing content. This creates an illusion of abundance while actually reducing the long-term value of the subscription. Users feel like they're getting access to thousands of titles, without realizing that the specific titles they want to watch may not be available when they want to watch them. But perhaps the most insidious aspect of the streaming manipulation is how these services have eliminated ownership and control from entertainment consumption. When you bought a DVD or Blu-ray, you owned that content forever. You could watch it whenever you wanted, lend it to friends, or sell it to someone else. Physical media gave consumers actual ownership and control over their entertainment. Streaming services have replaced ownership with rental, but they've disguised this change as progress and convenience. Instead of buying movies for $20 and owning them forever, consumers now pay $15 per month for temporary access to a constantly changing library of content. Over a 5-year period, that $15 per month subscription costs $900, but at the end of 5 years, you own nothing and have no guarantee that any specific content will remain available. This shift from ownership to rental has transferred enormous wealth from consumers to streaming companies while reducing consumer control and satisfaction, but it's been marketed as convenience and value, obscuring the fact that consumers are paying more money for less value and less control. The streaming company's ultimate goal is to eliminate all alternatives to their rental model. They want to make it impossible to buy or own entertainment content, forcing consumers to pay monthly subscription fees indefinitely. This is why physical media is becoming increasingly difficult to find, why digital purchases are being discontinued or restricted, and why movie theaters are struggling to obtain new releases. Disney provides a perfect example of this strategy. The company has spent decades creating beloved characters and stories that generations of families have enjoyed. But Disney Plus doesn't just offer access to Disney content, it's designed to replace all other ways of accessing Disney entertainment. Disney has stopped releasing many of their new movies in theaters, instead making them exclusive to Disney Plus subscribers. They've discontinued physical media releases for many titles, forcing consumers to subscribe to Disney Plus if they want to watch new Disney content. They've even removed Disney content from other streaming services and television networks, centralizing all Disney entertainment within their own subscription service. This gives Disney unprecedented control over how and when people can access entertainment that was created using public domain stories, taxpayer-funded subsidies, and decades of consumer support. Characters like Mickey Mouse, stories like Snow White, and franchises like Star Wars have become cultural heritage that Disney now controls completely through their streaming monopoly. But Disney's strategy reveals the broader problem with streaming services. They're not just entertainment companies, they're technology companies using entertainment content to create digital dependency and extract ongoing revenue from consumers who have no alternatives. Amazon Prime Video demonstrates this even more clearly. Amazon doesn't offer Prime Video as a standalone entertainment service. They bundle it with Amazon Prime shopping membership, creating a system where consumers feel compelled to maintain their subscription for multiple reasons, even if they're not satisfied with the entertainment value. Amazon also uses Prime Video as a data collection tool, monitoring what users watch and using that information to inform their retail algorithms and advertising systems. Your entertainment preferences become marketing data that Amazon uses to manipulate your shopping behavior and sell your attention to advertisers. This data collection aspect of streaming services is rarely discussed but extremely important. Netflix, Amazon, Disney, and other streaming companies collect detailed information about what you watch, when you watch it, how long you watch it, and even when you pause or rewind content. This behavioral data is incredibly valuable for advertisers and can be used to manipulate consumer behavior beyond just entertainment choices. The streaming companies know your viewing habits better than you do, and they use this information to determine pricing strategies, content development decisions, and marketing campaigns. They can predict with high accuracy which subscribers are likely to cancel their subscriptions and target those users with retention offers or content recommendations designed to keep them subscribed. But the most concerning aspect of streaming dominance is how it's destroying the economic foundation of creative industries in America. When consumers bought physical media or paid for movie tickets, a significant portion of that revenue went directly to the actors, writers, directors, and other creative professionals who created the content. Streaming services have disrupted this economic model by paying flat licensing fees for content rather than sharing revenue based on viewership or popularity. A movie that's watched by millions of Netflix subscribers generates the same revenue for its creators as a movie that's watched by thousands of subscribers. This has created a system where creative professionals are paid less for their work while streaming companies capture more of the value created by that work. Writers, actors, and directors who used to earn residual payments when their content was popular now receive minimal compensation regardless of how successful their content becomes on streaming platforms. The 2023 Hollywood strikes by writers and actors were largely about this issue. Creative professionals demanding fair compensation for content that generates billions of dollars in revenue for streaming companies. But the streaming companies' response revealed their true priorities. They were willing to shut down production entirely rather than share a fair portion of their profits with the people who create the content that drives their business. This economic destruction extends beyond just compensation for creative professionals. The shift to streaming has eliminated thousands of jobs in movie theaters, video rental stores, physical media manufacturing, and traditional television broadcasting. Entire industries that supported hundreds of thousands of American workers have been replaced by a handful of tech companies that employ far fewer people while generating much higher profits. The concentration of entertainment industry power among a few streaming companies also creates dangerous censorship and content control issues. When a handful of corporations control what entertainment content Americans can access, those corporations have unprecedented power to shape culture and public opinion. Netflix, Amazon, Disney, and other streaming companies regularly remove content from their platforms based on political considerations, advertiser pressure, or changing corporate policies. Content that was available to subscribers one day can disappear the next day without warning or explanation. This gives streaming companies the power to effectively erase cultural content from public accessibility. Unlike government censorship, which faces constitutional restrictions and public oversight, corporate censorship by streaming companies operates with minimal transparency or accountability. These companies can remove content, suppress certain viewpoints, or promote specific messages without any democratic input or legal challenge. The international implications of American streaming dominance are also concerning. Netflix, Disney+, Amazon Prime Video, and other American streaming services are rapidly expanding into global markets, potentially displacing local entertainment industries and cultural content in countries around the world. This represents a new form of cultural imperialism, where American tech companies use their financial advantages to dominate entertainment markets globally, reducing the diversity of cultural content available to consumers and concentrating cultural influence within a small number of American corporations. But the most frightening aspect of streaming dominance is what it reveals about the future of media and entertainment consumption. The streaming model is being expanded beyond just movies and TV shows to include music. Spotify, Apple Music, books, Kindle Unlimited, news, various subscription services, and even video games, Xbox Game Pass, PlayStation Now. We're moving toward a world where all media consumption operates on a subscription rental model controlled by a handful of tech companies. Instead of owning books, music, movies, or games, consumers will rent temporary access to content libraries that can be modified or eliminated at any time by corporate executives. This represents a fundamental shift in the relationship between consumers and culture. Instead of owning cultural artifacts that can be preserved, shared, and passed down to future generations, we're creating a system where cultural access depends on maintaining monthly payments to corporations that can change their terms of service or go out of business at any time. The implications for cultural preservation and democratic access to information are staggering. What happens to important cultural content when the companies controlling it decide it's not profitable to maintain? What happens to historical entertainment when streaming companies decide it doesn't align with current political or social trends? We're already seeing examples of this cultural erasure. Streaming services have removed classic movies and TV shows that were previously widely available, often without explanation. Content that shaped previous generations' cultural understanding, it is becoming inaccessible to current and future generations because it doesn't serve the commercial interests of streaming companies. But beyond cultural concerns, the streaming economy is also unsustainable from a financial perspective. Most streaming services lose money on their operations, subsidizing low subscription prices with investor funding or revenue from other business divisions. Netflix, despite its market dominance, carries over $14 billion in debt and faces increasing competition from well-funded rivals. Disney loses billions of dollars annually. Most streaming services outside of the major tech companies operate at significant losses. This suggests that current streaming prices are artificially low, maintained by corporate strategies designed to eliminate competition rather than provide sustainable value to consumers. Once the market consolidation is complete and competition is eliminated, consumers should expect dramatic price increases as streaming companies attempt to achieve profitability. We're already seeing the beginning of this price escalation. Netflix has increased subscription prices over 100% since 2010. Other streaming services are implementing similar increases while reducing the value provided to subscribers. The trend is clear. Streaming companies are transitioning from the customer acquisition phase to the profit maximization phase of their business model. But perhaps the most important question facing American consumers is whether there are alternatives to the streaming economy that can provide better value while supporting a healthier entertainment ecosystem. The answer is yes, but it requires conscious effort and a willingness to break free from the convenience addiction that streaming services have created. Physical media, though increasingly difficult to find, still provides the best value and control for entertainment consumption. Buying DVDs, Blu-rays, or digital downloads gives you permanent ownership of content at prices that are often lower than maintaining streaming subscriptions. Movie theaters, despite their challenges, still provide the highest quality entertainment, experience, and support local businesses and employment. Supporting independent theaters and art house cinemas helps maintain alternatives to corporate-controlled entertainment distribution. Public libraries often provide free access to extensive collections of movies, TV shows, books, and other entertainment content. Library services are funded by taxpayers and operate for public benefit rather than corporate profit, making them natural alternatives to commercial streaming services. Local video stores, where they still exist, provide community-based entertainment access with knowledgeable staff who can provide recommendations based on actual expertise rather than algorithmic manipulation. But individual actions alone won't solve the systemic problems created by streaming industry consolidation. Protecting consumer interests and cultural diversity requires political action to address the monopolistic practices of streaming. Companies' antitrust enforcement could break up the largest streaming companies or prevent further consolidation in the entertainment industry. Net neutrality protections could prevent internet service providers from favoring certain streaming services over others. Consumer protection laws could require transparent pricing and prevent deceptive marketing practices. Support for public, media, and arts funding could provide alternatives to commercial entertainment, while preserving cultural content that might not be profitable for private companies to maintain. But the most important step is public awareness of how the economy actually works and why the current trajectory is harmful to both consumers and cultural institutions. Most people accept streaming as inevitable technological progress without understanding the economic and cultural costs of this transition. The streaming industry has successfully marketed a system that extracts more money from consumers while providing less value and less control as innovation and convenience. This marketing success has prevented serious examination of whether streaming actually serves consumer interests or corporate interests. But the evidence is clear. Streaming services are designed to maximize corporate profits by creating digital dependency, eliminating ownership, destroying competition, and manipulating consumer behavior. The beneficiaries of this system are streaming company shareholders and executives, not consumers or creative professionals. The $200 billion streaming industry represents one of the largest wealth transfers from consumers to corporations in recent American history. Money that used to support diverse local businesses, independent creators, and consumer ownership has been concentrated among a handful of tech companies that use their market power to manipulate prices and control access to cultural content. This isn't sustainable economically, culturally, or democratically. A healthy entertainment ecosystem requires competition, ownership options, and diverse revenue streams that support creative professionals and cultural institutions. But changing this trajectory requires consumers to understand what's really happening and make different choices about how they access entertainment. As long as consumers continue to accept higher prices for less value while surrendering ownership and control, streaming companies will continue to extract wealth while destroying alternatives. The choice is stark. We can continue down the current path toward a monopolized, expensive, manipulative entertainment system controlled by a handful of tech companies, or we can demand better alternatives that serve consumer interests and support cultural diversity. But that choice won't remain available indefinitely, as streaming companies eliminate physical media, close movie theaters, and buy out competitors. The alternatives become fewer and more expensive. The window for preserving consumer choice and cultural diversity is closing rapidly. Netflix isn't just killing Hollywood, it's killing the idea that consumers should have ownership, choice, and control over their entertainment consumption. The streaming revolution has been remarkably successful at convincing people to pay more money for less value, while eliminating their ability to access entertainment on their own terms. The question is whether enough Americans will wake up to what's happening before the transformation becomes irreversible. Because once the streaming companies complete their market domination, there may be no going back to a system that actually serves consumer interests rather than corporate profits. Asterisk, the $200 billion streaming scam is happening right now, extracting wealth from your wallet every month while destroying the entertainment ecosystem that previous generations built and enjoyed. The only question is whether you'll continue to participate in your own exploitation, or whether you'll demand something better.